Hey guys, welcome back to the SCIF. This is me, Matt here. You're not going to see Chris here tonight. I just that I want to bring up with you guys, but um, you have me here tonight. We are the Green Beret Life. This is the SCIF. We're a 501c3. We do training for all sorts of firearms related endeavors: pistol, rifle, shotgun. We do CCW. We do personal defense. We also do some other stuff that we've talked about in the past: military readiness. We've done land navigation. We do situational awareness and some other courses as well. Please check out our website, thegreenberetlife.com. It's going to be updated here, coming up here shortly. Um, and I'm getting ready here too. I'm still up here in Wisconsin, and I'm getting ready to head back to Florida. We've had a very interesting week, and we're going to talk about some of this. I don't know if we need to talk about everything ad nauseum. I'm getting the black circle of death here, so I'm hoping you guys are getting me. So I don't know if we need to talk about what went on at nauseum. I think everybody understands what went on in the Middle East over there. Most of you guys probably understand what was behind it, where it came from, and there's some questions out there that need to be answered as far as how did Israeli intelligence miss this? How did U.S. intelligence miss this? And it comes out that Egypt stated that they warned Israel 10 days in advance, 9 or 10 days in advance, that Israel is now denying. So something about this whole thing is just odd and it's off. Okay. That doesn't take away from the fact that you had these shitbags from Hamas come in and execute innocent people, including children, women, parading bodies around in the street, dead bodies, desecrating bodies. This is typical terrorist behavior in the Middle East. I know we have a lot of military that watch here. Anybody that's been over there understands exactly what's going on. I know people in America sometimes have a hard time thinking about this and understanding what is really going on. And there's somehow some sort of moral equivalency of what's going on as far as Israel striking back into Gaza and the West Bank. Um, the A lot of things that I do tell people. I mean, it's hard to see, okay, because Hamas wants Hamas wants the victims. Okay, when Israel says everybody get out, we're giving you 48 hours and we're leveling this place. Oftentimes Hamas won't let people leave because they want people, they want that photo op that they manipulate worldwide media with, sympathetic media with. And it's something that you really have to understand. Um, if, I'm just saying if, I'm just going to pose the question out there. I don't know how they didn't see this coming, period. I don't know how they allowed people to use paragliders, motorized paragliders, to fly over the border and come in and catch Israel so flat footed. I don't think Israel's ever been caught this flat footed. Okay. So there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. It's also really funny that we're now starting to see some other things happening when everybody's paying attention to this. Hunter Biden, I know, I don't know if all the gun charges were dropped, but I'm assuming uh, at least one of the charges were dropped. I think the whole gun case is pretty much to the wind, and it's real convenient that it happened right now. We also have some questions on who funded this. I don't think there are questions. I think we all sort of know who funded this. Um, Last month, 9/11, we make a we make a trade, a prisoner trade with the Iranians. And then in addition to the prisoner trade, on 9/11, mind you, that date should be odd in your head, right? We give them $6 billion in addition to trading prisoners, right? At the time, Trump said, "Hey, this is going to set a horrible precedent that we're paying for hostages, And this is also going to set a horrible precedent that we're giving them money that they're going to put right to terror activities. And this is pretty much what happened. But there's a bigger picture in all of this, is that sort of underhandedly, a lot of the restrictions we've been putting on the Iranians over the whole nuclear deal have silently been loosened up or eliminated altogether by this administration, while at the same time cutting off all domestic oil production in the United States, which drives the worldwide price of a barrel of oil up. And then we allow the Iranians to sell their oil, which is generally expensive oil because they have to go through rock to get it. This is why they were so interested in the southern oil sands in Iraq, right? So in Iran, they go through rock to get that oil, and it's a little more expensive. But because the worldwide price on a barrel of oil has been through the roof, thanks in large part to this administration, and the releasing of some of these restrictions on Iran, they have generated upwards to the better part of allegedly $100 billion. So we're not doing anything to stymie them developing a nuclear weapon over there. In fact, we're doing the contrary. And we know they're the world's #1 sponsor of terror. So now that they're flush with all of this cash, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? I think we all know. We've seen what's going to happen. Now, where does this put us? We're now focusing, and some of the drama that we saw in the House is based on all of this money we've been dumping into Ukraine, allegedly close to $150 billion. We know that what we've been told that's going on in Ukraine isn't just about everything. We know we're not getting the whole story of what's going on. But we do know that the American people have had enough and don't want, especially when we're at $33 trillion in debt, we don't want any more money being blown on Ukraine, especially when we don't seem to have any way of tracking this money once it leaves the United States. Well, now efforts are being focused on the Middle East. And you've heard the same war hawks coming out trying to push, 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 push. Here's where I stand. I think Israel has every right to defend themselves. Every right to defend themselves. Does that mean we need to be drawn into it? Now, there's an argument to be made that we have funded both sides of this. We really have, right? But Israel has every right to defend themselves, and they need to take this until they solve this problem. And Hamas is a huge problem. And just for those that don't know, and I know most of you know how this money probably went, or how this all went down, you have Hezbollah right over there in Lebanon, right? Hezbollah is no joke. That is a major league organization. Hamas is like the little, and we talk about Sunni and Shia and how these things all mix, okay? It's all turned upside down because of Israel, right? The Arab, the Sunni Arab world was sort of being united to include Israel. And that's what the Abraham Accords under President Trump were all about. Well, what was happening where you were now starting to see, for the first time pretty much ever, a partnership and a working relationship between Israel and some of these Arab countries like Saudi Arabia, UAE, Jordan, right? Some of these, you saw a working relationship because they had a common enemy who was getting very, very close to creating a nuclear weapon. And that common enemy is Iran. Iran is Shia, right? So the Iranians know that there is something that they can do. There is something that they can do in order to try to throw a monkey wrench in this, and that is stir up the tensions between the Palestinians and the Israelis, because that will unite, Israel's attack that unites the whole Muslim world, the whole Muslim world, Shia, Sunni alike, and this is what they're trying to do. So that was probably the basis of the attack, but how it probably went was from Iran to Hezbollah, right? And then Hezbollah throws Hamas into action. So we could talk, Hamas is basically a Sunni organization because it evolved out of the Muslim Brotherhood. Hezbollah is more Shia organization, and obviously Iran is Shia, right? So when you look at the Middle East, it's so easy, especially when you looked at Iraq, it's so easy to say, okay, I know that Shia don't like Sunni, and technically Kurds are a form of Sunni. Nobody likes the Kurds, right? Even though they're the only people you can really work with over there. So if A plus B happens, if the Sunni get blown up, it must be the Shia, or vice versa. If the Shia get blown up, it must be the Sunni. Well, no, things are not always as they seem, because it sort of comes back to when I said Hamas wants their own people, they don't care if they die because they can use them as a PR point, a cudgel, a means to the end. If you don't know by now, Israel's giving away land. And I'm not saying Israel is 100% innocent in any of this, right? But Israel aren't targeting innocent civilians, right? So Israel's given away land. They have made legitimate efforts. There's another organization, the Yasser Arafat's old organization, which is the Palestinian Authority, right? The Palestinian Authority and Hamas are sort of diametrically opposed. So now you've got all of this mess, in here. You've got Sunni, Shia, all convoluted. You've got separate disagreements between the Sunni Arabs and the Iranians, which are the Shia. All of this mess over there, it's completely dysfunctional. And you can't really put logic to a lot of it unless you understand, right? There is no desire for a two-state solution. There's none. There's none. Because as far as Hamas is concerned, as far as Hezbollah is concerned, as far as Iran is concerned, okay, there can never be an Israel. If you're over in the Middle East, you will not find a map that has Israel labeled on it. Not one. Because they don't believe that Israel has the right to even exist. Not only is it a mess over there because one version of Islam disagrees with another version of Islam in several key points, where it's 1,000-year-old deadly struggle, when they're looking at a completely different religion like Judaism or even Christianity or there's just no acceptance of it whatsoever. So there can never be, and I know this is hard for people to get through their head here in the United States. So you see all these dingbats that know nothing in these college universities, many of them Ivy League rich kids, right? They know nothing. They cannot get it through their head. There will never be a two-state solution because that side, the Islamic side, is not interested in a two-state solution. If they can use this term as a bargaining chip to chip away, tink, 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 and pull everything down from Israel, they'll use it. But you've got to understand, there will never be a two-state solution over there with the Palestinians and the Israelis. There just won't be. So, before we start jumping in and saying we need to do this and we need to do that, okay, it's a powder keg. It's an absolute powder keg. And we always say, do not let the enemy dictate what your moves are. And right now, Hamas would love for us to get involved in this. They would love for us to get involved in it. And believe me, there's people, the war hawks you've already seen out there, want us to get involved in this. Israel is more than capable of handling this. Okay? The only influence we should have is saying, hey, this is between Israel and the people that attacked them. Stay out of it. And we need to stay out of it. And that's it. That's it. We cannot be drawn into another war. And now you're hearing Hamas calling for a day of rage. And I want to spend a lot of time on this, actually, calling for a day of rage across the world. And they're asking um, Muslims across the world to stand up and make attacks on Jews, is basically what they're doing, what they're saying. Now, they're calling it for tomorrow, Friday. Do I think it could. What we really need to be cognizant here of is we've let millions of people in this country and we don't know who they are. Okay. And now we're starting to see, where are these people coming from? Where are these people coming from? They're coming from, especially in the last year or so, they're coming from the Middle East and North Africa. Why is that important? Why should we be thinking about that? And there also, you have the ideas of families coming across. The vast majority right now that are coming across our border are military-aged men by themselves, right? So when you think of Middle East and Northern Africa, they should worry. Remember, Muslims rise up and start committing attacks against Jewish people across the world. So is this going to blow up in our face? Boy, it's hard to see how it doesn't. Not saying it's going to for sure, but it's hard to see how it doesn't, because you cannot open your borders and not have any idea who you're letting in this country. And just for the people that we know that are in, we know that either 1-on-1 or 2-to-1, we have people that get through that we never even see, right? So the people coming straight through the border are automatically getting amnesty. I saw a percentage the other day. It was something like 99.7%. Don't quote me on that, but it was something like that. And it was put out by Judicial Watch, of everybody who steps foot across that border down there stays in this country. That's insane. The country can't survive like that. Not only that, they're getting something like $2,300 a month just to start, right off the top. And I don't think that includes anything to do with healthcare, education, housing, food, Obama phones, you name it. This is your money paying for that. This is insane. No other country in the world would do this to this extent. None. They're getting all of this just for stepping across our border and breaking our laws. And then you're hearing of incidents of what happened up in Bemidji, Minnesota, with illegals and kidnapping 11 and 12-year-old girls that we can't seem to get the full story because the media is not covering it. I wonder why. It's all part of pushing a narrative. Because if more of the American people knew, if the people that are sleeping knew the extent of the damage that is happening to our country, I mean, it's dumbfounding. And it has nothing to do with being compassionate or anything along these lines. We're letting people in our country, we have no idea who they are. We're giving them everything. We're a country that is, for all intents and purposes, bankrupt. We're $33 trillion in debt. And part of this whole deal in the House was because we keep running $2 trillion deficits every year. So that means next year will be $35 trillion in debt. And then it'll probably raise up to $3 trillion deficits after that, and on and on and on. Where's the collapse point? We don't know. We don't know where that is. But we do know we're approaching, at least for recent times, all-time highs in inflation. Our strategic oil reserves, which were filled up for the first time in 40 years under Trump, have something like 16 days left. And we're out there pushing all of these wars. We're sending aircraft carriers all over the place. We got the mess going on in Ukraine that we sort of instigated. You've got China and Taiwan that's going to kick off. When would be a better time to kick that off? And now you've got this mess in the Middle East. And we've got people that don't seem to know how to solve the problem, or they're doing it on purpose. We need to wake everybody up. Now, I am going to try to check the messages on both Rob Rumble and Odysee. I see we've got some questions on Rumble already. Matt, they set this up and we're feeding both sides. This is from Josie Wales. They wanted to push out Palestinians, depopulate, and land grab like Mali. Yeah, I agree with this. I mean, it's hard not to, right? We gave Iran money, they transferred it in arms, support, money to Hamas, etc. We sold our last money to China, and we sold our last money to China supporting Russia. All in one big shit show. Yeah, the elites. Yep, I hear you, Josie. We got Freedom US. Agreed. The world is being played by the scumbag elites. Crazy times. There's a huge mega plan bigger than Ukraine, Israel, coup d'etats all across the continent of Africa, Azerbaijan war. That's another thing. I'm glad you mentioned that, Josie. Azerbaijan. Pay attention to what's going on over there. I'm not fully up to speed on Azerbaijan, but I know that there were a bunch of sanctions being posed running through Congress on Azerbaijan. And we've got a mess. We've got a mess everywhere. We don't have people that have America's best interest running this country, as we all know. I mean, it's not even close. Yeah, this is one of these things that we need to educate people with. And it's, how do you do that? How do you do that? You have to use a little bit of restraint when you're trying to educate people that aren't paying attention, because it's a lot to take in. And a lot of people don't want to believe it. They don't want to believe a lot of the stuff that you're giving them. Intentional destruction of our country. You know, and you have to understand some people still are completely dependent on the mainstream media for their information. And if they're completely dependent on the mainstream media for their information, you know that they're not getting the stories. So there are things that are working in our favor to try to educate people. Everybody knows that groceries have gone through the roof. Everybody knows that gas has gone through the roof. Everybody knows that the world is blowing up all over the place. And you can't sit back and say the country that is the most dominant country in the world and has the ability to make things happen, make peace happen, and the world is blowing up everywhere. This sounds really, really familiar, doesn't it? Because wasn't the world blown up all over the place under the Obama administration too? And you can even say some of the same with the Bush administration. Blown up all over the place. You know when it wasn't blowing up? It was under the Trump administration. Right? But now you need to be dubious, and it's past being dubious at this stage because it's starting to become obvious that things are being intentionally derailed. What I'm going to do here is I'm probably going to take us off of YouTube just because you all know that we can't speak freely on YouTube. If anybody's joined us here on YouTube, please come and join us over at Rumble and Odysee. We're at the Green Beret Life at both Rumble and Odysee. Please come and join us over there for the conversation. Please take part in the conversation. I love getting interaction from you guys, learning new things from you guys. Please put it out there for the community. Okay. So right now we're going to switch over. We're going to turn off YouTube and go to Rumble. Give me 1 second.